Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As you can see, here we are in the park again, and we have two people, very funny looking people, that's the best I could draw, sitting on a bench. And this is actually a park scene, and I explained the story of this particular topic like this. I tell the children that there's Noon Sakin, and he's actually hurt his arm. Just for a recap, Noon Sakin, a sakin is actually a help sign. This is a help sign. It looks like a little dal, a da, but it's a help sign. That means any letter that has this sign on it has, I've explained it to the children that it has fallen, the letter has fallen and hurt himself, and he can't get up, he can't manage on his own, so he needs some other letter to help him. Now this particular story is about Noon with a sakin on top. Noon with a, let's make a smaller one in proportion. This is a noon with a sakin sign on top. That means he's actually hurt himself. How has he hurt himself? You can make up a story about how he'd fallen from a jungle gym and he'd hurt his arm. So his mommy does take him to the park, but she tells him that he can't play on any of the equipment, the playground equipment, so he has to sit out. Now as he's sitting out and he's just enjoying the sounds of the birds and he's enjoying the park, he sees two people sitting on a bench, and he sees a word coming up, and the word is like this: a, ba, and then abada. So he looks at the word, he meets the people on the bench, and he says assalamu alaikum, and they say, of course, wa alaikum assalam, because they know how they're supposed to be greeting each other. So Noon Sakin asks the people on the bench, you know what, I want to play hide and seek, and I want to do something. Would you like to see what I'm going to do? So they say, okay, we're sitting here on the bench, we'll watch what you're doing. So what Noon Sakin does is he goes and stands right beside the word abada, and he calls out to the people on the bench, can you tell me what this word says now? And they say, oh, the word says abadan. And he says, Noon Sakin says, yes, that's absolutely right, it's abadan. But now I want to play a game. I want to play hide and seek. So the people on the bench say, we don't want to play hide and seek. We're sitting here enjoying the beautiful park. So Noon Sakin says, you don't have to go anywhere. I'm going to do the hiding and you can find me right from where you are. So there's Noon Sakin, and then what he does is, he says, okay, now close your eyes. Just see what I'm going to do. And what he does is, quietly, while they've got their eyes closed, he goes and he hides himself as this. And this friend of his, he's standing there. That's Alif, and he just joins up there and he stands, he's asking his friend Noon Sakin, what are you doing over there? So Noon Sakin says, shh, I'm playing hide and seek. So Alif just stands beside him. When then Noon Sakin calls out to the people on the bench and he says, okay, I'm ready now, open your eyes. So when they open their eyes, they look around and they can't see Noon Sakin anywhere. So they say, we can't see you. Noon Sakin starts laughing and smiling and giggling, and he says, well, here I am, and he bounces up and down on top of the Fatha sign, and he says, look, I've hidden myself here. I don't even look like myself. I just look like another Fatha sign. And then Noon Sakin, Alif says, well, every time Noon Sakin is going to hide himself in a Fatha sign, I'll just come along for a ride. I'm just going to give him company. So mostly every time you see in the Quran, you'll always see an alif where there's a tanween, where there's a dof, there's a fatha tanween. And actually there's a reason for that, because when you stop at a letter like this, we don't tell the children that right now, but just to try and explain why that happens. This is actually because when we stop, the Noon Sakin goes away, and we stop with this abada. It stretches to an alif madda. But right now, that's not important. This is all you're going to say, that whenever the Noon Sakin comes, sits on top or hides himself as a fatha sign, alif usually always comes along Alif always comes along for a ride. Okay, now then again you do this the same way. You tell the children, well, there's Noon Sakin and he's hiding himself again. Noon Sakin says he's going to hide himself again. He tells the people at the park, well, you know what, another group of friends come along, and they are actually, this pen is not writing properly. Let's take another one. This marker is kind of running out of ink. We'll take another one. We have this particular letter comes along is in the park enjoying themselves, these letters. And now Noon Sakin tells the people on the bench, you can't see him here, but Noon Sakin says, well, you know what, here along comes a few more letters, and look at the word it makes. So he tells the people who are sitting on the bench, can you read this? And they say, okay, this is falaqi. So he says, yes, that's falaqi. Now I'm going to hide myself. He's somewhere here. And he says, okay, I'm going to hide myself now. Can you please find me? See what I'm going to do. So he says, close your eyes. So they close their eyes. And Noon Sakin quickly goes and he hides himself. Now when the people on the bench, he tells the people on the bench, okay, now open your eyes. And when they open their eyes, oh, now look, can you find me? He yells out. And the people on the bench cannot find him. So he jumps happily up and down and he says, look, here I am. I'm hiding just like a kasra sign. Whenever I want to hide myself, I just do with a kasra, I become another kasra sign. So there you see, that's where Noon Sakin is hiding. So he tells the people, now can you read me? And they say, falaqin. There you go, falaqin. And now, as they're sitting on the bench, along comes another group of letters, and you can make this into this a, ba, dan, a, ba, da. Sorry, it's a, ba, do. Let's make it do because that's the dhamma we haven't done yet. So Noon Sakin is somewhere around here again. So he says, you know what? I'm going to do something now. Can you watch? So the people on the bench are getting kind of, we don't really want to play anymore. But he says, no, please, once more. So they say, okay, all right. So he says, close your eyes. And he goes and hides himself. And he says, okay, now open your eyes. And when they open their eyes, they can't see him anywhere. So he says, can you find me? Noon Sakin says, can you find me? But they say, we can't see you. So he says, well, look closely. And he starts jumping up and down. And he says, here I am. I'm hiding as an upside down dhamma. So they start saying, oh, there you are. So he says, now can you read me? So when they read the word, this is what it sounds like. Abadun. Abadun. And another way to explain this is you tell the children that every time when the two fatha signs come together, there's a Noon Sakin. Noon Sakin is hiding as a fatha. It's like a Noon Sakin sandwich. He's made a sandwich. And when you have it with the do kasra signs, that's also a sandwich. There's Noon Sakin hiding as a kasra. And then here's another sandwich. And that's when Noon Sakin is hiding as a dhamma. So this is the way Noon Sakin hides. And you can always tell the children when they're reading, even as they read in the Quran, you say, oh, who's hiding here? When there are two fathas here, who's hiding there? So they say, oh, Noon Sakin is hiding there. So they continue to understand that concept, because this is a little bit difficult from the teaching them fatha, kasra and dhamma, because here all of a sudden they have to remember that there's a Noon Sakin, and they're learning the concept of they have already learned this concept of sakin, but here they have to remember that every time it happens, these come together, they have to have the Noon Sakin sound hidden as they say it. Abadun. Actually not hidden, but they have to remember that the Noon Sakin is part of the word. Otherwise, actually, if you say to the children, okay, let's open it up, what do we see? And when you open it up, you see the letter Abadun. Dun. See, this word and this word is actually the same. It's only that the Noon Sakin is hiding up there. Okay, so I hope that's made sense, and I hope that you will be able to explain it to the children. It really makes work much easier when the children learn about the rules or about the lessons or the new concepts through stories. So assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.